One thing you might not know about me immediately, at least if you haven't noticed the posters for it on my walls, is that I am a huge fan of the Life is Strange video game series. The original one is one of my favourite games of all time. It's the reason I take Polaroids in real life. That kind of connection to that game is a really special thing to me. And I've been playing the entire series since that original one came out. So I've got a decade plus love of this franchise and all the games within it. I like all of them. Even Double Exposure. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I did actually review it when it came out in 2024. It was a huge honour because I got early access to the game to review it. And while I don't think it was as good as some of the other games in the franchise, I definitely do see a lot of the critique people have given it and understand it, one of them being the lack of Chloe Price. I do still think that game had quite a lot of good stuff to offer. I thought Hannah Tell's performance as Max was incredible. There was some well-written sections within the romance, etc., even though the ethics of the way the romance was done is definitely questionable. But all in all, I really enjoyed the game and was excited to see where it went next, especially since the game confirmed that Max would return as if it's one of the new Avengers Doomsday trailers. And so, like a lot of other people, I'm just sat waiting for the next game to see where the series goes, which is why last night was very exciting and interesting as the European ratings board PEGI put a listing up that has now been taken down for a Life is Strange game called Life is Strange Reunion. It has a release date marked for March 2025, which obviously is out of date, but that could have just been a placeholder release date. And since this is an official ratings board, not some fake one that's been set up as a scam, it could well lead some very interesting information in what's next for the Life is Strange franchise. Because we don't know what's coming next to the game other than Max is coming back, and we also know that Life is Strange has been conducting some research surveys over the last year or so, a couple that I've seen at the very least based in London, asking people about, I'm guessing, what they want to see from the next games in the franchise. Unfortunately, I didn't get into them. I did apply because I really wanted to try and be part of it. I didn't manage to get into it. But I can't help but think that some of the things that have been brought up in those meetings probably at least somewhat reflect what we've seen in this page. So what I will do is go through this whole listing, give you my thoughts on it, and just see what it has to offer. Spoiler warning is probably necessary because I don't tend to look at leaks for games, and if any other actual leaks come out for this, I am going to steer clear of them. But since this is from like an official source, in inverted commas, I do want to look at this, but there are some details that might spoil a little bit of the game, so do be aware there could be potential spoilers inbound with this. Not full plot ones, but at least enough that if you want to go in blind, you might know more than you want to. And of course, if you do want to see more content like this, you want to see me talk about more Life is Strange stuff, please do let me know in the comments and drop a like on the video. I'm embracing doing as much variety content as I can whenever I feel like doing something, and this is a very personal franchise to me, so if you want me to do more videos on this, I would love to, provided there's interest for it, so do let me know. So here we have the main website for PEGI, the Pan-European Game Information website, basically, like I said, the ratings board for any games releasing in Europe. And as you can see, if you search up Life is Strange, you get listings for a whole bunch of different things on different platforms. There's a whole bunch of versions for Life is Strange Remastered, True Colours, individual episodes of Life is Strange games, they're all listed in here. But last night when you search Life is Strange, the first result above everything was Life is Strange Reunion. It has now been taken down, but it was there. I checked the link a few times. Of course, now you can't see it 'cause it's been taken down, but I did get a picture of that very listing. And here it is. All spoilers contained within. We're going to read through it, so obviously if you don't want certain spoilers, stick with me. Only read through the bits we're going to go over, because we have the brief outline of the game, which I think is the most interesting part of this, but we're going to go through everything, because I think it's worth covering all the details in here and seeing what it has to say. So first off, we have the brief outline of the game. Chloe Price was Max Caulfield's partner in time. Losing her is Max's greatest regret. Now Chloe has to come to Caledon University, haunted by nightmares and impossible memories. Chloe needs Max's help, but Max is already in crisis, because in 3 days, a deadly inferno will destroy the campus. Honestly, I know there are a lot of people who have very varying thoughts on Double Exposure, and so the idea of them suddenly course correcting and bringing Chloe back is going to have certain reactions of different people. I'm someone who obviously sees the positive in a lot of stuff. I've made that clear in previous content. If you knew, I enjoy a lot of stuff that people don't tend to like as much because it's just more fun. It's how I'm wired. I don't know. But I've got to be honest, reading the outline of that game, I'm so in. I think that sounds brilliant. I'm really, really interested in that. Obviously, the most important thing here is it would therefore canonize that Chloe is alive, which is something that Deck 9 tried not to do with Double Exposure, but as we've seen in execution, I don't know if that was the best idea, because they tried to keep it so open that Chloe basically didn't show up at all, bar a couple of voice cameos from Brianna DeVries, who portrayed her in the Life is Strange Before the Storm, as well as in a cameo in Life is Strange True Colours Wavelengths, voice only once again there. And I just think it was playing a bit too safe. Pricefield, as it's called, is one of the most popular ships I've seen in video games, Max and Chloe together, whether it's romantically or just as friends. They're an iconic duo. I was one of the people who thought you could do something with Max without Chloe, but the way in which it was handled, I didn't love. I didn't love the way Chloe was kind of kept open as like a sub on the sub bench, just to kind of maybe be there if they wanted to and then not really do anything with it. I think maybe in hindsight they should have just locked in one way or the other, but I can get why they didn't want to, because of course they didn't want to just make one ending completely canon. But there's some very interesting implications for this, especially because I've debated it with some friends, people in my Discord, and got a few ideas here we can merge together to possibly present present an idea of how this is going to work. And the most logical one actually came from one of my moderators in my Discord, so I have to give credit to him for this. But the thing to remember with Life is Strange Double Exposure, plot spoilers for that game if you've not already played it, there were two different timelines in that game. There was a timeline where Safi had been killed, Max's current best friend in Caledon University, and a timeline where she was still alive. And by the end of it, those timelines kind of merged together. And one thing I was wondering about when I played the game originally was, I wonder if in one timeline Chloe's alive and in one Chloe's dead. And you just chose which one you were living in the current one. You know, when you get asked, is Chloe a high school sweetheart? Is she dead? Maybe your universe is the one that you pick and the other one is the opposite choice. But once the timelines are converged, what happens to events like that? Do you get one or the other? Do they get merged together? How does that work? And as I said, one of my mods suggested the idea that these nightmares and impossible memories that Chloe has could be that now the timelines are converged, Chloe is alive, but she has memories of dying in Life is Strange 1, of it all being undone and the Arcadia Bay being saved. But of course it doesn't make sense because she's alive. How could that be? Because in her memory, obviously Arcadia Bay would have been destroyed. It then presents a really interesting narrative where you kind of honor both choices, but you get to have Chloe Price back, which I would love. And there'll be a really, really good way to do it. And I hope that that's what happens, because now I'm reading this and theorizing. That really, really excites me. It could be a really cool, interesting storyline there. And then of course, I mean, you've got very much a Life is Strange 1 thing here with saying that the campus will be destroyed in 3 days by a deadly inferno. That could be caused by a whole manner of things. The whole idea is that powers cause problems, you know, they're more harm than good. That's why Max gave up the ability to rewind time for all those years. But now you have Safi outwardly messing around with her shape-shifting power, possibly enlisting other people like Nick Fury in Life is Strange or something, because she recruited Diamond in the end credit scene of Double Exposure because she has some power that's not yet been revealed. Some kind of power meddling could be going on that leads to this inferno happening, and that's what Max and Chloe have to try to band together to stop. I just really think that in premise alone, that could be fantastic. Obviously, you know, execution is an entirely different thing, and I've played plenty of games where idea and execution don't always line up. But I think if you bring back Chloe and Max, you have that energy of the original game, at least with the world-ending threat that's coming, something a bit more like that original game, not exactly copying it, but really feeling akin to what the original game was and what made it so special. And you also, in possibly doing that theory of the two memories in one timeline, basically pay tribute to both endings of the game. And if you do what this theory is suggesting of, you know, putting together both memories, both timelines in the game at once from the original one, you honor both options people could make in episode 5 of the first game, you've got a potentially really good story here. Really, really good one. So I'm really excited for that. I hope that is exactly how it happens. I guess we'll see. But like I said, there are other things here, content-specific issues and other issues. This is where other spoilers will begin to pop up. So if you've not read them and you don't want to know, this might be a point to jump off. If so, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. But if you want to know more spoilers, potentially, because again, this might not be accurate, but if you do, the game features depictions of the use of illegal drugs. During a party scene, the player is offered wine and is given the option to take a sip. The player character realizes she has been spiked from the drink that she has sipped on and is now experiencing hallucinations. Images on screen become distorted and the scene plays out with the character seeing strange images. A character tells the hallucinating character she is tripping balls. Does that not just scream Life is Strange, that kind of dialogue? It is then explained that she is high on mushrooms. There are also depictions of strong realistic violence. Let's pause there for a minute. First off, when I first read this, I completely missed the player character thing and I started to think this wasn't real because I was just thinking this was a reference to what happened with Kate Marsh in the original game. But it says the player character. Now, this is assuming we'd still play as Max. We could play as Chloe, who knows? But assuming you play as Max, she's not been spiked in a game we've played so far, other than being injected by the neck by Jefferson, which it's not a spiked drink, it's literally being spiked by an injection, so not quite the same thing. So it's definitely something unique. Again, maybe feels a bit akin to the original game, and there's a bit of a recurring theme here where I think we really are trying to go back to that original game, go back to the original grassroots there. Double Exposure tried to retain some of the core of Max and doing something new. This one feels like we have that modern Max, who I've gone on record saying I really loved. I loved how Max was handled in Double Exposure. Obviously the odd little misstep here and there with how Chloe was done and how that merged in, but I thought Hannah Tell portrayed her brilliantly. I liked how she looked, how she presented herself. So we keep that version of Max, but then ground it back to more like the first game. Could be a really good mix here. I'm honestly so excited. I really, really, really hope this is real and that I'm not hyping myself up for no reason because this could be incredible. It really could. Anyway, after that, it then notes, in the opening scene, the game recaps previous games from the series, which include a scene where a girl is shot in the torso before she's seen lying on the ground with blood seeping through her shirt. I think we all know what that is. Much of the violence in the game is implied. The building is set on fire and people are heard screaming inside for help. Don't quite know what that could be. It could be the barn in Life is Strange Before the Storm, because we know that barn burns down. We never see see it burn down, but we know it does, so it could be that, or it could just be something entirely different. This game also includes the use of strong language, which you can read on here. I don't read because I like to try and... I don't like to read bad language on here because I like to try and, keep my ads and all that, but you can see them all here feeling very appropriate to Life is Strange. So, again, flashbacks to Chloe. Maybe her nightmares are, like I said, of her dying. Maybe thinking they're nightmares to begin with, but they become so vivid that she thinks, did this happen somehow? Is this another world that I'm experiencing? Because she knows Max, she knows supernatural stuff's a thing. So who knows? It could be very, very interesting. The last bit then we have is other issues, which I don't believe there's anything particularly interesting here, but let's have a little look through and just see. So this game offers players the opportunity to purchase in-game items in the form of new outfits and a digital deluxe upgrade, perfectly in character with the rest of the Life is Strange games in recent years. We notice the game can still be played without the need to purchase the items, absolutely. Hopefully we don't have cat content 2.0, because as I stand by in my review, that was the worst part of the deluxe edition, charging 30 quid and that being the biggest thing. Should have been in the base game, but that's beside the point. There are images in the game which may be scary to younger players, including scenes of dead bodies with no blood or injury detail and human skeletons. Some sexual innuendo is found in the game. When the player goes to a party, another character tells them that someone didn't show up as their girlfriend thought this was an orgy. Look, again, it could just be me, willing myself into believing, but the quotes just really scream Life is Strange. I just can imagine a character saying that in one of these games. Suicide is referenced in the game frequently, but no depictions are shown. Okay. I just feel like it does line up perfectly with other Life is Strange games. There's not excessive sexual content. There's probably going to be romance stuff. You got Max and Chloe, you're going to have that on offer, no doubt. But they're not going to overdo it. They never have. I actually think romance is one of the better things that's been handled across every game, really. I don't think it's been handled badly once. My only critique would maybe be that in Life is Strange 2, the romance doesn't last, but that's just kind of the nature of that game, so you can't really mock it for that. I think especially just the specific scenes between Max and Amanda in Double Exposure are some of my favourite non-Pricefield stuff in the entire franchise. Honestly, I really loved how those two were handled. Did feel a little bit more mature, but still having that kind of, young adult teen vibe that just, I don't know, they captured it quite well, I think, personally. So that kind of thing I imagine will persist, but that wouldn't warrant a sex rating from PEGI, from Life is Strange. So there would be one for sexual content here if that were the case, but that doesn't feel fitting. Violence makes sense, bad language, drugs, of course, and in-game purchases. So it all lines up. And so you combine all this together, you bear in mind that, like I said, this is from an official ratings board, and you just start to wonder, could this really be legit? Because it's not a leak someone's put on a Reddit forum. It's not something that's popped up on Twitter that someone's gone, oh, I worked at Deck 9, I can tell you what they're working on next. Or even, as I said, there were those workshops that happened in the UK, possibly maybe elsewhere, I don't know, but I know 2 happened in London. There could have been information that's come out from those, that maybe there has and I haven't seen it, but the whole point is the source in which this information has come from feels like as legit as it can get without actually being from a legit source. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know how soon these ratings go up. That's one thing I actually could do with looking into. Based on a bit of looking here, it seems as though it could be between 3 months to a week before release, or it could be longer, so it could be a more provisional rating. But the thing is, this doesn't feel provisional. I look at this, and this feels like there's much more to it. But the concern I have, and the big thing that I'm questioning, is that it feels too soon for the next Life is Strange game. Don't get me wrong, you release it soon and it's perfect, I'll be a very happy bunny, but normally they release roughly every 3 years. It's been a fairly consistent pattern. The original Life is Strange around 2015, you had then Life is Strange Before the Storm in 2017, okay, sure. Life is Strange 2, 2018, I think it was, 2018, 2019. Then True Colors 2021, Double Exposure 2024. So there's roughly a 3-year pattern here. Now, because at the end of Double Exposure, they had a bit of an idea of where to go by bringing Max back and continuing that story, the initial concept phase might not have taken quite as long because they don't have to think of a new setting, new characters. They kind of have a bit of a basis to pick up off. And then also when you've got the research people maybe selling the same thing, because I just think from the way the internet responded and how keen everyone must have Chloe back, which I agree with, I think some people were a bit too harsh in how they'd said it, but that's just beside the point. I think it was a very fair thing to say bring Chloe back and make it feel a bit more like that original game. It's probably something that was screaming at them in development from some people based on some of the things I've heard, but also when the fans are saying it too, it kind of gives you an inclination to go in that direction. Do you know what I mean? It could even be that they'd already decided Chloe was coming back and the pitch workshops that they did were like, what do you think about how we should do it? What do you think about what should happen? It could be they'd already made that call. Point is, they might be further in development than they normally would be because this is going to be quite a heavy successor to a previous game, more than it's been ever really with a Life is Strange title. So it could release sooner. And so that means we might get more like a 2-year span between releases rather than 3. If that's the case, that would earmark around October 2026 for this game to come out. Does that mean it's going to happen? I don't know. I really don't know. This is all spitballing here. I haven't got a clue. I can't help but feel from reading all of this, theorizing it, thinking about where the game should logically go, thinking about what Deck 9 are probably going to do with it, I just can't help but feel as though this is where it might be going. You know, you've got the same settings, so there's textures and assets and things you can use again. You've got a lot of similar characters. Ones you can bring back fairly easily, like Chloe, you can, refresh them from the ground up, like visually, because it's a more modern game, but you have that basis. There's just a part of me that really sees this all being possibly true. And also, Life is Strange Reunion as a name, I love. I really like that name, so I hope that is actually the name of it. So I don't know. I'm very, very optimistic, slightly cautiously, because again, the only thing that really worries me is that release date. I haven't looked at PEGI ratings before, so I don't know for sure if it's a very common thing for a rating to go up and for there to be the wrong release date. I don't know if that happens very often, so that's the only thing that really makes me question it. But everything else, if it's been made up, if it's fake, that would be like an incredibly well done fake. But for that to get on PEGI's website, I just don't buy it. I think if it's ended up on the website, even if it's only been there for a few hours, it's got to have been legit. But either way, I guess we'll see. There are some articles who are theorizing we might see it soon at a state of play based on the PlayStation symbol here. It was an Xbox game showcase where Double Exposure was revealed back in summer of 2024, so it could be an Xbox showcase too. I think realistically now you just have to sit and wait, see what the next showcase is going to be from PlayStation, Xbox, or the next few, and maybe it'll pop up at one of those. I'll make sure I'll be streaming as many of those as I can, so make sure you follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RedargeLive, because you never know, one of these might come up with the Life is Strange reunion trailer if it's real, and I'll get very, very excited. I will get very, very excited, and I will do a video on it if it does come to light. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all my thoughts on Life is Strange Reunion. So if you have enjoyed this video, please, as I said, do drop a thumbs up down below, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see more Life is Strange stuff and more theories on this game, drop a comment, let me know. I'd be very excited to talk more about this because I really do hope that we got something big cooking here. I really do hope so. But that'll do it from me. I'll see you all very soon with some new content. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you had a very happy new year as well, since this is the first video on the channel in 2026. It's nice to be something that I love so much, like Life is Strange, to be a good way to kick off the year. So appreciate you all checking it out. Thank you all for watching. See you all soon. Take care.